And that was the fun part. I learned programming. I was using a software called Blender.
Okay.
So there you can write scripts to automate certain repetitive tasks. And there I learned Python.
How did you like click ki I can make products which people would use?
It was always about solving, personal problems, day-to-day problems. I was building so many products or projects, and I wanted a way to present them in a really beautiful way online. How can a file store both visuals and an audio at the same time? That is where a container comes in. So container takes in audio stream, video stream, stores it together as one file. I was stuck debugging that one frame issue. I was like, people might not even notice it, but for some reason I was like, no, this has to be solved.
As developers, we are fond of building many side projects, but many of them never make it past our GitHub repositories.
And then there are few people who manage to make a product, monetize it, and continuously improve it while having a day job.
So in today's episode, we sat down with Akash Hamirwasia, a front-end engineer at Razorpay and the person behind multiple such side projects like Blaze and Slant.
We talked about his experiences while building these products, monetizing it as well. We also took a deep dive into the technology that empowers these apps. This is Akash on Breaking Prod Season 1.
Cool. मैं ही कॉन्शियस जाऊंगा कोई नहीं it's great to have you Akash on Breaking Prod. I'm becoming very formal though, but that's probably my English speaking. अगर मैं हिंदी में बोलता तो मैं और बोलता कि और भाई क्या हाल है मतलब कैसे चलता है. So maybe I'll switch in between later. I'm not expecting you to switch, but it's okay for like मेरे flow के लिए it might be helpful. What's up? What's going on this week? How was this week at Razorpay?
Pretty chill. I mean, I was mostly on leave. But the reason was I had to meet a lot of people. GitHub Constellation was there. So decided let's take 1 week off and then just, chill out.
Oh, you took a week off?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Whenever you take a week off, is it like, are you very comfortable in taking week offs or are you like, ki nahi, work is there, I'll have to complete that? What's your mindset when you're taking a week?
I don't take weeks off. I mean, it's usually either Fridays or Mondays because then you get the weekend as well. This time, everything sort of piled up together. I was like, might as well take 1 week off. It had been quite a long time as well. So I was like, let's just...
How often do you take leaves, वैसे? मतलब in general?
Very rare. I mean, maybe once a month. This month, definitely this huge week off. But usually around Fridays, once or twice every month.
So, last week, what were you working on? What's going on at work in general?
Last week, so currently the thing that I'm working on at Razorpay involves a lot of documentation. Okay. So I was preparing tech specs, getting reviews from people.
Shit. Is that a good thing for you or is that not a good thing for you?
So as a person who likes to build stuff, writing before you build is something I find counterproductive. Because might as well just code it and build it. But then I think in a way it's good for the entire product and the organization because you're documenting what you're building. So if things change or if maybe you don't stay around to work on it, at least there is, some document that outlines what decisions you took and what the mindset was. But preparing it is not something I enjoy.
Where do you generally like to write on? In general, like I think most developers have very different opinions on where they want to write, and being developers, they would like try to focus on a lot of productivity, and they'll like maybe spend an hour to just figure out what tool works the best for them to write on. Some people write on VS Code, and some people write on Notepad. Some people would
mine is a mess in that sense. So during work, like if there's a meeting, I have to take notes. It's usually VS Code because that's the thing that I have open. If there are discussions. Like in phone or if some other meeting and I have my phone around, it's usually Google Keep. So all the notes over there.
You're still using Google Keep?
Yeah. It's synced across everything, so I still use it. Notion for like ultra pro stuff if I want to look cool. So for example, Notion I use for all the conference talk management. So I keep a track of all the proposals, all the conferences that are coming up. That is where Notion really shines because it has like all the tracking built in.
Agreed.
And if there are things which require, multi-level organization, so pages, hierarchy, there also Notion is the best.
Yeah.
But for small notes, snippets, Keep is what I use. And just in between meetings, VS Code and Markdown is the best friend.
How often do you clear up your notes, extra notes?
Never.
I mean, मेरे पास ऐसे छोटे बहुत सारे notes पड़े होंगे कहीं ना कहीं.
So I always feel like I'll remove this, but I don't. For some reason, I'm like, okay, fine. If it's around, might as well like refer back to it at some point.
Someday it might be useful.
Yeah. But recently, I've started creating tasks, like small tasks, like a to-do list. I use Google Tasks only. So it allows me to like create small items which are synced with the calendar. So even for this podcast, I had a task.
Okay.
And like literally everything I created as a task. So this entire week was like just spent in completing those tasks. And I have like 2 or 3 tasks left. So I'm like pretty close to finishing everything.
Pretty tight of a weekend, I would say.
But do you like sit on weekend and plan your whole week out, or do you do month-wise, or you don't do?
I don't. I don't even plan the day. So I mean, recently only I started planning in terms of tasks because things were like coming in. I don't want to miss out on anything. But it's usually like I have a plan of how I want to like build something or what I want to work on for the current day. That's what I do. Most of the time it's related to work. But during work, like after work, I'm done with, let's say, a lot of coding. So I'll probably do something else. Or if there was not a lot of coding in the entire day, I'll just do coding on my side projects. That's how it goes.
Is it like you're more into spending your day, like weekends or like time off on like doing coding, or like something else as well? Just like you said, like if you have some time left, then you work on your side projects, sites, whatever. Is it something else you do generally, or is it like you find comfort in it?
Yeah, I find comfort in working on projects. So I mean, it's a hobby. I don't work a lot on it because, I mean, weekends, I don't want to spend my entire week working. You instantly start feeling burnout because then Monday, again, back to work. So usually Sundays are me just procrastinating, resting or going out, traveling if there's something planned. But yeah, Saturday is definitely coding on something of my own. Even after work, something of my own. Sundays are pretty chill. Yeah.
Makes sense. What are you working at, like the position as? Is it SD2 senior, like was it?
So I work as a front-end engineer, which is SD1.
Okay.
And my day-to-day job is building user interfaces.
Okay.
And I'm in the Rise team, which is for early stage startups. So it's a program by Razorpay for any early stage founder to get a nice community, access to deals, to various tools like AWS, Google Cloud. And the RISE program itself helps you in the entire incorporation journey.
Is it like a YC startup school types thing?
Not exactly startup school. Like we don't explicitly train you or conduct sessions.
Makes sense.
It's just a community for you to connect with other founders, share your findings. But we do have some expert hours, on a weekly or a monthly basis where someone, comes, takes a webinar, shares their insights. Yeah.
Is it a paid community, or it's an invite only?
It's not invite only. It's heavily curated. So you apply, the team interviews, you evaluate your profile, and then you get in. So if you get in, you will get access to a very high quality community.
I think this sounds very much like Bookface, which YC has. So YC has this like internal kind of tool. I'm not sure if you've heard of. Have you been to like YC ka kuch bhi?
Startup school, I've seen some videos.
So there's something called as Bookface in it. So usme they have, it's like a internal network of people who have been in YC before or who have been connected. So like wahan pe it's a restricted access kind of thing, but once you get in there, then
you get the access.
You get the access to all of those deals and stuff. And how much thought did you give like to join computer science as your like BTech course? Like, was it a thoughtful process, or like was it like theek hai sab CS karte hain, so I'll also do it?
No. It was decided. It was set in stone. I will join computer science and engineering. Doesn't matter which college I get.
Okay.
So this was like decided well before JEE or anything. I liked building stuff. In fact, maybe I didn't get into IITs because I was spending time coding and not preparing for JEE. But yeah, it was set in stone that I'll go with computer science and engineering.
That's a powerful line actually. I spent my time coding instead of preparing for JEE.
And that was the fun part. I learned programming. I was using a software called Blender
Okay.
So there you can write scripts to automate certain repetitive tasks. And there I learned Python. So I wanted to see because I'm using Blender, can I automate certain tasks that I do always? So I wrote Python scripts, realized that this can be useful for others, so started sharing online.
Was this in class 11th?
Yeah, class 11, 12th, around that time.
तुम सही time spend कर रहे थे फिर.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time like doing these things, and I realized that this is fun. Like I am able to build stuff. I don't have to get any hardware equipments. I can build stuff. I just need internet connection and a system. I can build stuff and share it with the rest of the world.
Was it around that time you made a Twitter account and named it Blender School?
Yes. Yes.
Is it the same reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is why. So I used to work with Blender. I started a YouTube channel, created a website called Blender School because I was teaching Blender. And then I realized that a lot of people have social accounts on Twitter, GitHub, and then I was creating an account and I had to pick a username.
Okay.
It's hard to pick a username that is unique.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I guess I'm just doing this YouTube stuff, whatever Blender School. I'll just build my socials also around it. And I set my username, GitHub, Twitter, both as Blender School. And that is how it has.
Do you regret it now कि यार ये क्या कर दिया आकाश नहीं लिखा
Not really. I mean, I think that is a way for me to stay connected with the roots of where I started.
Makes sense.
So maybe 10 years down the line, who knows where I'll be. I'll know that Blender School is where the journey started.
Where it started.
But were you
insane.
really enjoying making those videos on YouTube, or do you generally enjoy building products? What sort of person you are? Do you like to share more or just build in like darkness and just share a little bit so that people know what you are doing? So what sort of personality do you have?
So back then, I think it's always about building stuff in any form, either video, code, anything that can help other people. With Blender, I learned through YouTube tutorials.
Okay.
And then I realized, okay, I'm able to do certain things. Let me create a video for others who are trying to do the same thing. And that is how it started.
Who gave you this thought? Like, was it like मन में आ गया बस कर देते हैं?
Yeah, it was just like from within. Like people are posting Blender tutorials.
Good epiphany.
But how did you figure out Blender? Like first time you came across Blender, how did
मतलब
you
Java से तो Blender बहुत different नहीं है. मतलब Java में तो I was struggling between scanner and string buffer and पता नहीं क्या क्या भाई. I just used to hate fucking scanner man. Used to have like this. तुम सारे कैरेक्टर्स एंटर करोगे फिर एक आखिरी का एंटर इज आल्सो कंसीडर अ कैरेक्टर दैट्स जस्ट गोना दैट फकर इज गोना जस्ट स्टे ठीक है एंड देन व्हेन यू पुट सम नेक्स्ट लाइन तो वो एंटर भी एग्जिट एंटर हो जाएगा उसके साथ अलग लाइन में दैट वाज अ बिग थिंग एंड देन मूविंग फ्रॉम देयर टू ब्लेंडर लाइक दैट्स अ वेरी ग्राफिक ओरिएंटेड टूल
yeah so I think the connect was in Java I was able to only build text oriented programs takes input prints output in a text-like format. I didn't know how to build UIs. In Blender, the scripting language that it provided, it allowed me to create buttons, display an input field. A lot of these components or front end in a way, which sort of connected with me because I was able to design like really nice interfaces for whatever I was building, small scripts, and that was missing in Java.
And then you switched to C++. So you were doing Java, you already did C++, and then Python, and then
C++, Python going on,
and you ended up with JavaScript.
Yes.
how did that happen even?
Yeah, finally fell into the pit of JavaScript. No, so what happened was I was fascinated by building products as in like tools that could help people solve problems.
Okay.
And then I realized Blender is good at building 3D graphics and stuff. I can't build, let's say, a to-do application inside Blender. Why would someone download Blender to install my script and then use a to-do application inside? So Blender wasn't meant for that. So I was thinking of, well, should I try to learn, a general, sort of programming language where I can build interface, like proper standalone applications that I can share with others. And that is somehow I stumbled across Electron.
Very similar journey. I'm relating to this very hard.
Yeah. Somehow, I mean, I was just searching how to build a desktop app. Electron was coming everywhere. It always pitched, you can write once, build for all operating systems.
That was the most eye-catching point for me as well.
And then I looked at the code. Felt sort of similar to Python. I don't have to worry about types. Things seem to work fine. I got started and learned Electron, learned Electron in that sense. So I didn't even know JavaScript is a language. Like I just saw Electron. I thought this is some Electron script something. I'm just learning how you can build stuff with Electron. And then I realized, so even HTML was something I learned in school. I think in 7th grade is when we learned HTML. So I saw even in Electron, you have to write HTML markup to structure your UI. And then I learned, okay, this is similar to web development, I guess. So let me just bring back that book and see and refer how to do things. And then I wanted to style certain things. How does a thing look like? So I learned CSS along the way. I searched how to make a button red, how to add spacing. Just search and then implement. And then to make things functional, again searching how do you write a list or an array in JavaScript? How do you push? How do you pop? Everything, and then just copy paste snippets and get things to work.
I'm still more intrigued about how you like switched from a programming thing to a very design heavy thing. Was it like you wanted to get into design, या फिर like you said कि like कुछ अलग करते हैं? मतलब you could have found web dev उस समय भी ना online if you would have searched. मतलब Blender, I know it's a common tool, but again, was there some part of you which said I want to get into design kind
or
of
like
thing?
game development or
इस
something
तरह
like
का
that?
कुछ.
Because I believe when I found out about Blender was I wanted to make a small game.
Exactly.
And,
Same.
And I wanted to create a character out
I
of
was
it.
like, I'll make my own GTA.
I wanted to make a car racing game.
Yeah.
And for that, I wanted to have a car. And to get that structure, maybe you download the 3D part out of it, or you can create few things. So the car I got, it used to open like this. I wanted to try to open the gates like this. At that time I saw like you can do this in Blender. But at that time I believe the laptops used to not that powerful. So it used to like get hot very hot.
It used to take a lot of time.
It used to take time to just do one like basic mesh, like the mesh thing. So it was very hard at that time. So how did you figure out like, I have to do it, it will take time, but I actually have to stick to it? Because it was pretty new, like very new for you to literally get into anything regarding to designing or anything. But what made you keep going into that?
In Blender. Yeah, so the thing about Blender was, again, it's I guess sort of related to programming as well, that you can build stuff, imagine, some art piece. And I used to like art as well. Like when I was a kid, I used to love, drawing, painting, building, crafts. And seeing that in Blender, I literally translated my physical art and craft knowledge to like literally Blender. So I could, things that I could not do physically because you need a lot of material and stuff. I could do that in Blender because it's a virtual world.
Was it this itch which led you to build like different products online? Like I see you have a lot of side projects in general. Recent wala, I think Vyakaran मैंने देखा, Slanted, so it's a very famous
Blaze.
one now at this point. Blaze is something which I personally use. Okay, before I had like an iPhone AirDrop के साथ, Blaze was my thing to go because it was like share it for me. Okay, so that was. Until then, I did not know who Akash is, but someone told me like Blaze is something which you can use, and it's made by this guy on Twitter. And this was I think 3 years back types होगा मेरे ख्याल से जब मैं join किया था 2022 में मेरे ख्याल से when I came to Bangalore तभी की बात है. Then when did you build it? Was it?
It was in 2018.
2018 ना तो मेरे को 21 के अराउंड मेरे को शायद पता चला था कि Blaze is something which you can use, and I was sharing it with people कि भाई Blaze डाउनलोड कर लो, Blaze पे जाके देख लो, तुम डाउनलोड भी नहीं करना पड़ता है, ऑनलाइन चल जाएगा, it's easy to work. How did you like click कि I can make products which people would use, like मैं कुछ ऐसा बना देता हूँ जो I'll share it with people?
Yeah, like the first time when you realized that you have that eye to solve people's problem, when was that first eureka moment for you?
Yeah, so I think this is something I can relate with a lot of projects. It wasn't thinking for a wide audience that, okay, they have a problem, let's fix it. Because then I have to sit with them, understand their problem and come up with a nice solution.
Correct.
It was always about solving, personal problems, day-to-day problems. So I have an Android phone, a Windows PC. I don't have any way to transfer files. Share it, I'll have to install on both the systems. Then I have a third system, which is Linux. I have to install, share it on that as well. And sometimes these apps are not even available for Linux operating system. So I was wondering, if web is a platform which runs everywhere, can we build a file sharing application that runs on the web? So it'll work everywhere. And that is how it started. So I wanted to, in fact, I had my college exams then, 2018, December sometime. So I had to transfer some notes from my phone to my laptop.
Oh, nice.
And
That's a
then
good
I
problem to
realized,
solve.
okay, I can use share it. But then I had this thing in mind, if we just, brought this technology on the web, it would become so easy to use. Just open an application, connect and start sharing. You don't have to download an app. It'll just work seamlessly. And I started building. I didn't even know what technologies I can use. So started with a small prototype WebSockets. WebSockets wasn't even peer-to-peer. It sends via a server. So, but still, I wanted to just see if something like file sharing is possible on the web, and that is how it started. So I never think about building a product for a very wide audience. It always starts out very small, solving a personal problem, and slowly you improve it, build it for yourself, and you realize that this problem is not just faced by you. A lot of other people are facing it as well.
Yeah, that's true. I think Resonator started the same way because I was trying to find like different platforms which can give me very customizable links to put. किसी में GitHub paid है, किसी में कुछ paid है, किसी में कुछ paid है. I was like, भाई इतनी भी तो बड़ी चीज नहीं है which you're monetizing on. It's like not that hard. Plus, I want to have a very simplistic resume. मेरे को single page बनाना है. I don't even want to have like the CV kind of thing. फिर latex सीखना is another pain. So like वो मतलब I was a math major तो मेरे को सीखना पड़ता वो चीज. Eventually that turned out कि I had to learn. But उस समय तक it was a very personal problem to solve. And then उसके बाद वो TNP वाला system आया. मतलब I got into third year. So TNP and all that came in. Then a lot of people I saw they were struggling कि with the same problem कि इसमें ये link नहीं डाल सकते, इसमें वो link डाल सकते, I have to put it like this. They were putting hacks and stuff. मैंने कहा maybe try using this if it works for you. And to be honest, the first version was like shitty as hell. If like people go onto Resuminator's GitHub and see older issues, the UI looked like awful.
Yeah, same. I can relate to it completely. The first version of Blaze looked horrible. I didn't even use React or anything. Not like it would make it better, but it was like default button style, some nice background color. The thing is, the background color and the accent color is exactly the same to this day.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, maybe that
यार
time.
ऐसा होता है वैसे. If you make a product, that color clicks you. मैं तो वो लगा ना when I had to make this new breaking prod के colors, I said like please don't use purple and blue. It's always like set in stone for Resuminator. Like let it be there. वो अब मेरे यहाँ बस गया. If I see it anywhere, I'll just like connect it with that because I think material UI में by default purple and blue आता था. So that was my.
It drew inspiration from material UI. That floating action button, everything. But that color, that dark blue color and that accent lime green color with that noise in the background. A lot of people weren't doing noise then.
That is true. That is true. Because जब मैंने वो देखा था 21 में, I was like, this is very polished. How has someone made it this polished? Was it like did you keep coming back to it to improve it or?
Yeah. I kept coming back to improve it because I wanted it to be the best version of what it could be. So there's I guess this is something with how I work with things. But I always try to build something to its best version. Like it has to be the best always. If it is a little bad, I'll work on improving it to make it the best. So even like the smallest of pixels, the colors, the shadows, everything has to be perfect as much as it is possible. And that eye of perfection, it's good and bad because you keep working on the same thing again and again.
That is true.
But I've seen that it just produces like crazy results. So I'm sure you experienced it while seeing Blaze.
Yeah, I mean that
really
was
polished.
That was very polished. I mean, I was very surprised when I saw this guy. I think you graduated in 22 only, right? So 21 के end पे 22 में I was like, just college graduate किया है, इतना polished product बना दिया है, तो बहुत ही neat लग रहा है देखने में. And it worked also. Like to be honest, I've seen a lot of these products which suck. ठीक है, like they suck. ठीक वो नहीं चलता सही से, उसमें बहुत दिक्कतें हैं. वो कनेक्शन ब्रेक हो जाएगा बीच में. If you're sharing a large file, it's gonna break.
Like 5 बारी में एक बार it will work.
तो I was very skeptical to be honest when I was looking at it and someone told me कि ये काम करता है. I was like मुझे नहीं लगता कि इतना अच्छा तो काम करने वाला है वैसे भी. maximum tools like this don't like even have like good connection का strength पता नहीं क्या तो दिक्कत रहती है, बहुत बार वो पकड़ेगा नहीं same room में. But this worked flawlessly. I was very surprised at that point of time. Then like after you built Blaze, how did you like push it out? Was that your first product which you built?
Yeah. So I built a lot of projects. They were on GitHub. I didn't even spend time like building it because it served my needs. I was happy with it. Okay, fine. It lives as a dead GitHub project. But with Blaze, I realized this is something I'm using daily. I have to transfer files. I have shared it with my sister. Even my sister is using it to share files. Other people are finding out about Blaze they are using. So now I'm like, okay, I should probably improve it because people are using it. And then I, made the UI better, made it a bit more polished, improved the underlying tech to ensure the files actually get transferred correctly. And I just kept pushing code on GitHub. People sort of found it. I posted it on Product Hunt out of nowhere. I found this site called Product Hunt. People are posting stuff they built. So I'm like, might as well just post it over there. Maybe people will find it out. So I posted it. And then next day it becomes the number one product of the day.
And that was the moment it clicked.
And then it actually broke in prod. So yeah, what happened was a lot of people started using Blaze. It was the number one product, so a lot of people are seeing and trying out Blaze. The thing is, I didn't realize at that point that file sharing is still such a hard problem. People, while internet has existed for so long to transfer files between servers and clients, it's still hard to share files from your phone to laptop, and people are looking for apps to do this.
Agreed.
Share It was there, but it was filled with ads and all those things.
Didn't work on PC also, I think.
Yeah. So Blaze was like, it didn't even require registration. So you could just open, set a nickname and just start sharing. So I think the usability perspective, like very easy to use, don't have to register. UI is very clean, no ads, very polished looking. Those are things that clicked with a lot of people because a lot of people wanted these things. So a lot of people came in to try out the app. And then I was using some free server somewhere because I was the one using it, so I didn't even bother if it's not working for someone else. And then the server blew up. So everyone started getting some 500 error, that a lot of requests, so no more. I think some rate limiting or something was there in that server. And people started leaving bad reviews that number one product, it's not working.
Oh my God.
And then I was like really sad. I couldn't do much as well because I think I had moved to another free server, but that was also sort of...
What were you using at that point? Heroku or something?
So I had like 3 instances. One was, I don't remember the name of that service, but yeah, that service sort of shut down after like 2-3 months after this thing.
तुम्हारे लिए बंद किया होगा.
Maybe, I think, yeah. Second was Vercel. Yeah, second was Vercel, third was Heroku.
Okay.
So Vercel was working fine. The only downside was the speed was very low, which was okay. But Vercel was working fine. But even with Vercel, they started making changes with Zeit too, where only serverless functions were allowed, no Docker apps. So Vercel was no longer a viable solution.
Tech.
So only possible solution was Heroku. But the downside with Heroku is that they turn off your application.
That is the same problem we were also facing. So what we used to do was कि थोड़े टाइम पे मतलब we used to ping it खुद से खोल लेते थे.
I wrote a cron job to do that. So every hour I used to like send one request.
But didn't that cron job also need another server to run?
No. So I think I had found a free site which was scheduling cron jobs.
हाँ मतलब इस तरह कुछ तो I tried कि बीच में मतलब what it used to do is जैसे कि रेजोनेंट वेबसाइट पे जाता था ना, तो वहां से वो एक कोल्ड रिक्वेस्ट भेजता था तुरंत इंस्टेंटली. तो जैसे ही वो भेजता था, जब तक वो लॉगिन होता था तब तक इट वुड हैव लाइक ऑलमोस्ट डिड अ कोल्ड स्टार्ट. अगर वो नहीं हुआ होता तो जस्ट स्टेटस चेक करने के लिए एक को कॉल भेजते ही थे. तो इट वुड हैव फिगर्ड आउट 30 सेकंड में आ जाता था वो.
सेम आई डू विद माय आई हैव अ रेंडर, उसके ऊपर आई हैव अ सर्वर फॉर दिस फॉन्ट थिंग आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो दैट थिंग वाज हैपनिंग, सो इंटरनली दे वर यूजिंग एंड इनिशियली दे यूज्ड इट वाज वर्किंग फाइन, एंड व्हेन दे यूज्ड टू गो इट यूज्ड टू टेक टाइम, लाइक इट टेक्स 2 minutes to spin up and then do. So same way I found that there it gives you 50 jobs per week, something like that. I was like, okay, work hours are this, 1 ping every day, then 7 ping every day.
I did some calculation as well. Heroku also gave some 70 hours per month or something.
72 hours.
Yeah, something like that. So I calculated if I run Blaze 24/7, then I cannot host another app. So I was like, okay, fine. For now, only Blaze is something I'm working on. So I just have.
I think it was enough for a month.
Yeah, yeah.
720 hours ऐसा कुछ तो था उसका.
Yeah, 720 or something like that.
Something like that, which was just enough for the month.
Yeah, exactly. I think they also designed it in such a way.
कुछ इस तरह से उन्होंने पता नहीं उसका सेंस क्या था, मुझे आज समझ में नहीं आया. फ्री बोल देते हैं, मतलब कोई उसका यूज भी कैसे करेगा महीने में.
So their billing and stuff was, if you put a credit card, you don't update or upgrade to another plan, they'll give you 1,000 hours per month. So that would be sufficient for 2 apps.
Okay.
Something they had done which would motivate you to put that card so that you can run 2 apps.
And then
someday
they'll
mess it up,
and
they'll make money.
That someday came when RBI like released new guidelines and shit got fucked up. ठीक है, सब कुछ बंद हो गया. Our servers got messed up. सब कुछ बंद, मतलब Razorpay बंद हो गया था because backend नहीं चल रहा है. Then the person who was building Razorpay with, then he took the effort कि अब मैं उसको सब कुछ serverless पे डाल दूंगा. तो then सब कुछ उसने rewrite करके lambda में convert करके एक एक चीज को वहाँ पे set कर दिया ताकि now like 1 million requests तो नहीं hit करेगा.
Yeah, the thing with Blaze was you cannot convert it to a serverless application.
That is because you need that file constantly.
Yeah.
So then how did you fix that eventually, Heroku पे?
So I thought Heroku is the way to go. Let the 30 minutes, whatever downtime, whatever they have, cold start. It's okay. I'm using it. It's fine. But out of nowhere, like I stumbled across DigitalOcean's open source sponsorship page. And then I was like, okay, might as well apply. But for a small project like Blaze, who will sponsor someone like one person working on a Blaze project who doesn't understand everything? So I was like, okay, fine, might as well apply and see. And it actually went through. So they accepted Blaze as a project in their open source program, and then they started funding the infrastructure. So it runs on DigitalOcean infrastructure. It's running smoothly to
Is it still on DigitalOcean?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
since is this program still available?
Yeah, it's still available. You don't have to do a lot. Like you have to fill a form. I don't know what the evaluation process is, but I guess you have to put like the number of stars your repo has, your plans are with the project, and
how many stars were there?
Then it was 500 stars, which was well above their thresholds because they had like different tiers, 100, 200 and 1,000. So I was in the second to third tier. So I sort of got accepted, and since 2020 it's still under DigitalOcean.
That's how it's running. I was my next question was, how are you paying for it? Eventually,
DigitalOcean was my first server as well. They used to give student discount $200 ka. So I hosted a lot of servers there. I made my own SMTP server. I have done all those things on DigitalOcean.
Right.
DigitalOcean was fun and it's easy because they have marketplace. So I've tried hosting Webflow and all those no-code tools using that, and they have a very direct there. So you get certificates, everything you can get like literally from the marketplace. So for like students at least, they have done a really good job. I'll say.
For Blaze, you had a problem, but Slanted में क्या problem थी? Like what inspired Slanted?
That's a luxury problem, I would say. So I was building so many products or projects, and I wanted a way to present them in a really beautiful way online. So that is where the problem came in. I knew Blender, so I used Blender to make these 3D-ish screen recordings, and those took a lot of time. I had to spend like 2 days actually building the animations, and then another 1 day to render everything out. So, and then I realized if I did this for each and every project, it would take a long time. So I was like, okay, fine, let's try building a small tool to automate this. I knew 3JS is a thing to build 3D animations.
Correct.
So I started with that, and then slowly that ended up being Slanted.
Did you learn everything on your own in that? Because Slanted is, so on your job you do front end, right? Here you do full stack kind of thing, definitely. Or Blaze maybe same cheez kiya. Like, how did you start picking this up, and did you manage between both of those realms which you're living in?
Yeah, I think so this distinction of front end, full stack, back end, I think that is something I do only in the professional setting at Razorpay or anywhere where I work at. Outside work, I'm like ninja developer. Do anything. If I have a problem, I'll do that. If
I'll write
there's-
tests.
Yes, I'll write tests. If there's backend, I'll write backend code. If I have to do machine learning, I'll learn machine learning and then implement that. But all of those follow the same theme, that what I'm building should actually help someone or should help me at the end. So that is how it went. So even with Slanted, I was building the backend. I was building the application, right? So I didn't look at it as, okay, now I have to do backend. It was like, it's part of the application building process. So if I have to learn something, I learn it and then implement it.
But yeah, it's not an easy application to build.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
When we work at we also realize that all of these things have minor problems which people will never be able to relate to, and you'll never be able to express कि यार इसमें ये बार-बार export में 4 frame drop क्यों हो रहा है?
Like it's so easy to say like it's jerky at the end of the
Yeah,
video,
yeah,
but
yeah.
to figure out why is it jerky,
Yeah, it's
it will
very
take days
hard.
to figure out
It's
that.
very hard.
ये
It's
एक
very
frame
hard.
में मेरा F ऐसे क्यों हो जा रहा है? Like why is it this? Because how do you export in general if you want to share?
Yeah, so I gave a talk about this at JSCon, JS Nation. The export process is using a lot of new web APIs, primarily web codecs, which uses hardware acceleration. So a lot of video encoding process is offloaded to your hardware itself. So, I mean, of course, your hardware has, in case of MacBooks, they have dedicated chips to process your MP4 encoding. In other devices, even software solutions are there to directly encode videos. So all of that happens outside your web app, and JavaScript as a language and in the context it runs inside a web app, it's not that fast to do reliable performant video encoding. The only video encoding it does is for video calls, which is for transferring that encoded data to other devices over network, and their reliability doesn't matter. If you get like 1
2
frame,
frames
2-3 frames drop, doesn't matter. But if you're like building or exporting a video, it has to be perfect, 60 FPS.
Correct.
And that is very hard. But it took a lot of time to figure out things because web codecs itself isn't really documented a lot. I had to dig through GitHub issues, read code by other people, go through the web codec spec itself multiple times to see what is there, what isn't there, to figure out things. But yeah, overall, debugging even now is very difficult. Like last week only, I was stuck in this problem where the video that is playing and the animation that is applied both run 1 frame ahead or back. So there's a race condition between both of them. And there's like a flash of an incorrect frame when the animation changes. I was stuck debugging that 1 frame issue. I was like, people might not even notice it, but for some reason I was like, no, this has to be solved. I don't want to think about this later, so I want to solve it. And eventually I did. It was a hack. I don't know how long it will stay, but for the time being, it is sort of fixed. But yeah, it was a pain debugging it. I can say
How
that.
do you debug these things in general? मतलब export करके debug कर रहा है फिर?
And do you get tickets from people who are using this product?
Oh yeah, I get a lot of feature requests and bug reports as well. Sentry is already integrated, so if there are unnoticed bugs that are thrown or errors that are thrown, those get captured.
Why did you choose, like, is it a Electron app, right? Slanted, or is it like
it's a
web
complete
app?
web app.
मतलब how do you sell it to people, like on browser only? Achha, makes sense.
Licensed?
Yeah. So there are certain features that are behind a paywall for which you have to upgrade to Slanted Pro. And those are enabled as soon as you purchase Slanted Pro.
But do you map the IP to it, or if I buy it, any of my friends can use it?
Yeah, as of now, no such restriction. Only restriction is you have to use your Google account to sign up.
Oh, so
Yeah, so kind
that's
of.
a smart.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The thing is, like, I don't want to build, login, register, forgot password.
What do you use for?
So for auth, right now I'm using Firebase auth.
Are you using Next for this, or is it?
Yeah, it's Next.js, Chakra UI for the components.
Nice.
Not
Same
a
stack.
good decision now. I think.
Not now, because now you need a lot of components which are like not available in there.
Yeah,
So-
components and then performance is a problem. Like Slanted is a very heavy UI heavy application, and in that if you have a lot of these components which are using emotion, emotion itself,
You don't
CSS
like
and JS.
emotion. in them.
CSS and JS is not ideal.
Okay.
Like it's doing things in JS that it was not meant to.
Hmm.
In the hindsight, we are doing a lot of things in JS that we aren't supposed to. but yeah, if CSS already exists, why bother with CSS in JS?
कुछ तो मतलब बीच में लोगों को चुलाती रहती है ना कि क्लाइंट साइड सर्वर साइड फिर क्लाइंट साइड तो वैसा यही करेंगे अभी फिर से साइकिल आएगा फिर एवरीवन इज नाउ मूविंग बैक टू CSS नॉर्मल हां टेलविंड PHP अरे कर दिया ना तो नेक्स्ट JS में बहुत सारी चीजें नाउ यू डू ऑन फ्रंट एंड ओनली और PHP नहीं है तो क्या है सिमिलर चीज थी बस अब ब्यूटीफाइड है थोड़ा सा एंड व्हाट एल्स डज स्लैंटेड यूज इन जनरल चक्रा के साथ
Chakra UI TypeScript, everything is TypeScript.
Do you also use WebAssembly for like sports?
So it uses WebAssembly in FFmpeg as a WebAssembly module. So a part of how the export pipeline is written, the final step needs FFmpeg. So it's
the stitching part.
So actually so when you have an encoded video, like my understanding before all these things were, when you encode a video, you get an MP4 file.
Okay.
But apparently no.
Yeah, you get frames.
You get some intermediate format which is encoded video, but it's not connected with the audio. Like audio is a separate stream, video is a separate stream, subtitles is a separate stream.
Correct.
All of those things get packaged into one file, which is the MP4 file. So that packaging part
isn't MP4 a codec? I mean, could be very naive.
No. It's not a codec.
What is a codec, and what is the difference between a format and a codec in general? This is gonna be very heavy, so just like keep your notebooks ready.
Yes. So codec is how you define your frames, those individual image frames, should be optimally stored so that it doesn't take a lot of space.
Okay.
Because if you just store the raw frames as an image, it'll be a huge file, so a lot of data. But if you want to store it in a way that is not so large, but you don't lose a lot of quality, then you have to encode it, essentially compress it in some way so that it retains. Let's say if certain pixels are not changing, then you don't include that information in certain frames. All that is a part of a codec or an encoding algorithm.
Okay.
There are multiple encoding algorithms like H.264, AAC, which is advanced, AVC, advanced video codec. All of these.
AAC is audio codec.
Yeah, AAC is an audio codec. So all of these codecs just take in frames as an input, produce a stream of encoded video, which you can't really play anywhere. But it's you can think of it as a zip file of all those.
But they join
frames.
all those image frames.
Yeah.
So it's a video which is a compressed kind of format. Makes sense.
And if you want to play that back, you again need that corresponding decoder, which will take that encoded format, decompress it in a way, and play those individual frames.
Okay.
Now, after encoding, there is this new process which not a lot of us know, which is putting all of these things in a container. Container is MP4. AVI, MKV,
WAV.
Yeah.
वो तो audio के लिए सिर्फ I think.
Yeah. So all of these are containers.
Okay.
Not Docker container or anything, but container for storing these streams. Now, when you think, well, a video can have visuals and audio. How can a file store both visuals and an audio at the same time? That is where a container comes in. So container takes in audio stream, video stream, stores it together as one file so that the person playing that video doesn't have to play audio and video simultaneously. So when you open that video file, both start playing. So, and if you have subtitles, that can also sit inside the container.
That is RT file.
Yeah, so it's like a zip file of audio, video, subtitles if there are any. That is your one video
it's
file.
Technically not a zip because now there's a zip. Playable.
Yeah, playable file.
Oh, makes sense.
So when we think of video, we just think frames, encoding, MP4.
Yeah, correct.
But there is like one more process which is like containers in between.
How did you figure this out? How much time did it take you to figure out like this is how export will work?
It took a lot of time, a lot of trial and error. So when I was learning about web codecs, I realized that web codecs only does the encoding part, which is taking your video frames and then creating a stream of video, which you can't really play, but you have to put it inside a container. And then I realized, okay, web codecs can do one part, but what about the next part? How do I get a container? So then I realized, I read a lot of GitHub issues and everything. People were proposing web codecs is that why not add a container as well? It'll complete the process end to end. But then the creators or the people who have proposed the spec, they were like, no, containers are very specific to the client. We cannot generalize it right now. And that is why I sort of figured out FFmpeg. I mean, it's the gold standard for anything
Correct.
video, audio.
Yeah.
I use FFmpeg only for that container part.
Makes sense. That
Which
is WebAssembly guy.
Yeah. So that I could have used FFmpeg for the entire thing as well. So giving it the individual image frames and then the final output video MP4. But I wouldn't get hardware acceleration because it's WebAssembly. I have to load that huge WebAssembly module and then it will still run on the CPU. So no
How do
hardware.
you get hardware acceleration? That is it a separate?
That's web codecs API itself.
Okay.
Because it's a web API, the browser vendors have a way to offload it to hardware if it supports it. So if I'm using that API, if the browser or the device supports hardware acceleration, it'll just forward it to the device to handle encoding.
I mean, hearing all this just brings me to a very interesting thing, which I was just constantly thinking about it. You are having a job at a well-reputed startup, to be honest. Okay? And I think the workload will be there because it's not just a very big company yet that you have a number of people to do the same thing. And you are like fine being benched and chilling out. बहुत सारी companies में ऐसा option है. But being a startup, it's definitely heavy. Plus, then you're coming back to all these projects and improving them constantly. Like, how do you even manage that time and energy to like go back and do it in the end? Is it like the money which promotes you to do it because Slanted में already people are paying for it? Or is it like, ki nahi, I'm just doing it for the sake of it? Because Blaze में people aren't paying for it. Right? Then how do you get back to it bar? Because that's something which I personally want to know for a lot of my side projects. Because now this podcast is kind of a different project, to be honest. This is more into an art kind of thing. And it's not a coding which I do in my regular day job. So it just switches my mode, like my brain flips the mode. But for you, it's both the same thing, right? Like morning also you're coding and evening you're also coding. How do you manage?
And how do you don't get distracted? Let's say you are stuck at a problem at Slanted and next day you have to do a very important job at your work. And then you are trying to you don't get distracted from the problem statement that you had last night.
Yeah, so 2 questions. One was how do I come back to it and stay motivated? So for that, it's always, I think it's again that itch where you have built something, you want it to see improved, you want it to be in the best version it can be. And that is what sort of brings me back to it every time. One is improving the product, seeing it become better over time. Second is learning. So for Slanted, while building the video encoder itself, I learned a lot. So I'm sure if I, try to do things, more fancy things with the product itself, I'll learn way more things. And speaking about, solving problems that feel like, those are unsolvable in a way, like technically challenging, you're trying to solve it for 2-3 days, but it's still not getting solved.
True.
For me, so I always, compare the thing that I'm building with a gold standard out there. So if I'm building Slanted, I'll probably compare it with Figma, which has like crazy amount of technology, WebAssembly for that canvas part, real-time collaboration. So if they are able to crack it, that means there is a way. It's just a matter of time to figure that out.
Makes sense.
So and that process itself is what keeps me into it. So I can't rest before I'm able to solve that problem. So it's always that way. And then your question was, how do I come back?
I think it's a very morphed question in a sense.
But yeah, it's so when I work on a project, my mind automatically goes into working on it completely. So if I'm working on something at Razorpay, it's completely focused on solving that problem. As soon as I'm done with it, if I open the Slanted code base, now I'm instantly right there.
You compartmentalize both.
Things. And I can work on it completely. But there have been times when, I'm working on Slanted at a stretch and then I'm sort of bored of it now. Okay, fine. How long will this go? And then I'm like, okay, let's not work on it for some time. So that time what I do is I work on different projects in a round robin fashion.
Oh, okay.
So I'm working on Slanted. Maybe next week I'll work on Blaze to, improve certain aspects of it. Maybe the third week I'll work on something new. I don't even have planned what I want to work on at that time. So by doing that, I constantly switch, the context and sort of stay refreshed.
कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि मतलब Slanted में ज़्यादा interesting हमारे Razorpay is like fucking forms only. Like what the hell do I do here? Like don't you feel like there are more challenging problems to solve at Slanted compared to Razorpay? Definitely Rise is a very new team, right? I'm assuming it's not going too heavy into the back end or like the transactions kind of step. So essentially, what I feel, you're probably just building forms somewhere or in some way or the other, right? So doesn't it feel like कि ये काम ज़्यादा interesting है, so my mind is wandering there, like ये तो मैं जल्दी से निपटा ही दूंगा. It's not challenging enough for me.
Yeah. That has come up a lot of times. Whenever I compare like Slanted, the work that has gone into it, and the work I do at Razorpay, there's a stark difference because this is very technology heavy. There it's building tech to solve other problems. So it's not that
It's not tech
heavy. Yeah, it's not tech. The tech is not really the product. So yeah, there are thoughts. Sometimes I wonder, what if I work on this full time? But then I also want to be at a company to understand how a company works before I start my own company.
Makes sense. I mean, but a lot of people like just do indie hacking and they don't like go to build a company out of it. Maybe they're just like doing it solo, like you're doing it, and still earn a good amount of money at it. But that also depends like how much Slanted is earning you at this point. And do you have a number in mind? Like what is that exact? Because you're doing on web. Plus, you just have like login normally. So, and how much do you charge for it? It's like $49, right?
Yeah.
So, how many paid users at this point?
Yeah, so paid use, I think so. It has already crossed like 30-40 paid users, well above that.
Good.
So you can do the math and figure out.
No, that I think we can do it.
But yeah, in terms of like normal users, so even with Slanted, you don't have to sign up to use it. Like you can just open and use it. You should, I mean, you can create an account if you want to, but if you want the pro features, you have to create an account because then it will be associated.
Yeah.
So a lot of users who create an account, in a way, create an account to purchase Slanted itself. So there are like 100, 120 users. Out of that, like maybe 50, 60, I don't know, maybe the math.
Do you push like a lot of marketing into it? Ki, please use this.
No. Do you do any SEO? Have you done any SEO?
मतलब कुछ तो ऐसे लोग. How do people even reach? Is it just your Twitter following?
Yeah. Right now, it's even I'm surprised.
What was your first subscription like, and how did it become? Do you remember how did you feel and from where it came?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. So it came from someone in the Blender community because I had like sent a mail over there as well. Someone out of nowhere purchased it.
Okay.
And I did not expect that. I was like, okay, just get the word out. And then I was like really happy. I mean, I was wondering if they're using Blender, why would they be interested in my product? But I mean, yeah, they found it really useful. And the thing is, with Slanted, like I just post on Twitter mostly, you know, things that I'm building or things that are upcoming. And that's the only channel where I push Slanted. I'm yet to do a product hunt launch. I'm yet to, you know, do paid SEO or paid ads or anything. The SEO part is also like just, you know, typical SEO improvements that you do. Basic tags, structured HTML, accessible, everything. There is a blog section where I post out some, you know, feature updates and everything. So that's about it. But somehow it's spreading. Like there are people on Twitter, like crazy designers who do a lot of interesting stuff. They somehow found out about Slanted and they have purchased the Pro.
But doesn't that push you to actually focus more on it? Is there any something that you are planning out? Like how do you plan
I'm
that?
thinking of, I haven't planned anything as such. I don't want to make things very complicated for myself because like one of the things that got me started with all these things is just doing it for fun. So it's not like, you know, building a company, like that is the goal. It's not that building a company is the goal. It's just having fun and building something along the way.
To be honest, बहुत सारे लोग इस चीज पे company बना चुके होते हैं already. Like it just I think about like how you're looking at the problem.
I agree.
But having said that, if there is a point where I realize that Slanted has grown quite a lot, and I think, and I feel like I have to give more time to it, then yeah, that discussion will definitely happen when.
Like I mean, people like your manager would be seeing this. Don't they say कि like ये तुम इधर time लगा रहे थे इसलिए ये नहीं करा तुमने काम, like you're slacking off at work because you're putting more time into side hustles.
The conflict of interest doesn't happen. Like maybe this week you were not able to work because you were pushing out there. Does that happen? Ever happened?
No. So it's probably the way I've managed everything. So like whatever deadlines are at work, as of now, those are like higher priority for me. So even if the Slanted update goes out 1 week later, it's fine. but the work stuff has to go out. So in that sense, yeah, the work comes first, the work at Slanted comes next, and that is how it's structured. So there, like everyone at my office knows that I'm working on this. There is in fact a deal of Slanted available in the Rise portal.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, what do you use for payments? Do you use Razorpay or Stripe?
good question.
You are a good question.
My answer is neither.
Okay. फिर ये क्या UPI कर दो सीधे. Send me QR code, sir. UPI this money.
But send me the screenshot.
I'll send the QR code. Just scan it.
Scanner sending, sir. What are you using then?
So I use Lemon Squeezy,
Okay, अच्छा.
which is built on Stripe,
हाँ, yes.
and it handles a lot of things for me.
But how do you decide the pricing? How do you take the decision? First
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Second, following up is, earlier I feel like you would have taken any decision by yourself. Now, because people are paying it, you have to be answerable to that if something breaks. How do you take those decisions now? Like, do you go really into like, I'll do a beta testing, or I'll just put out there like people want to opt for it or not? How do you figure out your next steps then?
So the pricing aspect, I gave this a lot of thought. Not that I've learned a lot out of it, but I thought I'll make it a subscription. So monthly subscription, someone pays and then they use it. Then I realized from the nature of the product, like it's something that you may not require every month.
Correct.
If you're doing a product and launch, or if you're rolling out a new feature, that will probably happen once a quarter or once in 6 months. So it's sort of unfair to charge someone every month and then they won't even use it every month. So then I started thinking, okay, let's probably make this yearly. So you purchase once, use it for the entire year. Next year it's on you if you want to renew it or not. But even there, I felt like people who are subscribing to use Slanted will always expect, let's say, something more out of the product. Which is fair because they're paying for it every month or every year. But at the stage where Slanted was, I didn't even know whether I would, spend time improving it further. And that's why I went ahead with simple one-time pricing. The amount itself was just decided based on what other tools are there. So slightly lower, but you don't want to go very low, otherwise
Quality
You don't have to be the cheaper option.
People start thinking about the quality aspect.
Correct.
So little lesser, but similarly priced to rest of the tools. And over time, you see how people are, reacting to the price. I have received comments from people in, well-off countries saying this is very less. You should charge probably double of what you're charging right now.
Indian वाले लोग तो नहीं बोलते हो ना, India वाले तो
Yeah,
आधा
yeah,
pay
yeah.
करेंगे.
But do you want to have that country-wise pricing? Because multiple
Parity
products have
pricing,
that.
it's something I'm thinking, but it's also something I don't want people to misuse because there will always be there will always be, because I'm only charging you once, and even in that, if you like just
हाँ, वो थोड़ा सा like
do that,
you'll be dropped maybe.
If they're doing India, Aadhaar card mark.
Share photo में mask आधार कार्ड.
no, I send them the UPI QR code.
India only UPI allowed.
WhatsApp
Only
number.
UPI with QR code.
Yes.
But you can figure out using mobile number if you start collecting that. That
नहीं,
can
but
be
ये BT देता ना भाई, मोबाइल नंबर से भी सिर्फ लोग पेमेंट नहीं करना चाहेंगे.
No, I want webhooks and everything, right? I don't want to manually turn on, turn off.
That is true. I mean, what anything next coming up in Slanted? What are you planning to continue on it for long, or is it key?
So,
on a hiatus on that.
So a lot of there's a roadmap that I've designed. A part of it is feature requests from users, and there is a part of it from myself because I sort of dog food it almost every time when I'm building something. When
I
I'm
saw on
going
your
at,
website also.
when I'm going at some conference, I'm presenting it with Slanted.
पूरा hard sell कर देता है. इसे वहाँ पे conference में जाके presentation में पूरा Slanted पे.
Yeah.
And then people are stuck at that slanted only.
बाकी conversation से किनारे हो जाएगा.
So there are things that I as a user find that okay, these are things that should improve on, and most of the times those align with what feature requests people want.
Correct, because you're using it.
Yeah. So there is a roadmap of things that I want to build, and in a way, Slanted V2 is coming.
Okay,
It's not announced anywhere right now.
Okay.
But it is coming with a lot of big features that people have asked for.
What is one thing which we should look at?
Multiple videos and images in the timeline.
Oh,
Okay.
Because right now you can only have one image or one video,
correct.
Okay.
and you can't change it. So it's only one video that is fixed.
Achha, that plays in different angles.
Yeah,
and
different angles and different angles.
But now you can have multiple. So you
Yeah,
don't
you-
have to edit the video afterwards after moving
So
out
you can
from
have
sound.
multiple images, multiple videos simultaneously. You can rearrange them, and you can export it.
Did you like how do you like did you change export or like anything, because now there are multiple containers
So,
anyways.
yeah. So the timeline bit had to be rewritten completely. A lot of those one frame issues.
A lot of those transition issues.
A lot of those
Flash.
one frame issues, and then the export process also had to rewrite to support multiple videos and everything.
Correct.
But the good thing is, like the code base, the way it's structured, it supports large refactors or extensions. It's not like it's very tied into just allowing something. So tomorrow, let's say if I want to add support for multiple audio streams, it'll be much easier now. So the entire timeline that I've written, it'll support like multiple assets on top of each other.
Pretty
parallel.
interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Are you planning to bump up your pricing?
Maybe
with videos?
we'll see.
Why not? We too will have a different pricing.
It should actually. If you have spending that much time,
Yeah,
it
correct.
should.
Yeah, I haven't figured out like how I want the pricing to be in the long term, because I don't want to charge people a subscription for a product that they might not use on a regular basis. Having said that, there might be, let's say, a subscription plan if I'm supporting things like team collaboration or cloud saving.
यार वो तो बहुत इंटेंस हो जाएगा अगर तुमने वो बना दिया तो बहुत ही नेक्स्ट लेवल चीज है, बिकॉज़ अ वेरी फ्यू टूल्स डू दिस. इवन प्रीमियर प्रो में भी वो चीज आई थिंक नहीं है कि तुम लाइव टाइमलाइन पे एडिट नहीं कर सकते. फॉर दैट देयर आर डिफरेंट टूल्स.
Yeah, live time that'll be insane.
That will be insane, to be honest. Yes.
He'll be
I
doing
agree.
full time and charging thousands of dollars to use that product. And it should be like that. So if you're putting
then
out
we'll
your
have enterprise plan.
Yes, I mean it requires enterprise plan, because how would you support those servers then?
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
right? It's gonna take your effort. Plus enterprise में लेकिन BT भी बहुत है अपने.
Yeah,
That's a
And
different.
I don't know if I'll
different
be
day
the
story.
only one working on Slanted at that time. Maybe I'll have to get some people to
Yes.
help me with
But
it.
do you plan to extend your team?
Extension will happen naturally.
How do you deal with burnout in general, भाई? इतना कुछ करने के बाद it's painful. Like at some points, like don't you get like brain dead at some point कि नहीं भाई अब ना ऑफिस होगा ना ये होगा, and I just fucking take a week off and do a podcast.
Maybe that's where burnout, I guess I just stopped doing everything. Yeah. That's it. Work happens only to the extent that I want to. Like the things that I'm supposed to, only that much, nothing more.
But ऐसा नहीं लगता कि लोग आगे निकल जा रहे हैं, like this people is building so much, they're pushing out so much things, and
It's fine. It's just time. Like
that's
the
powerful,
learning.
That's a powerful learning.
yeah. But burnouts are very hard times. It's sort of demotivating in a way that you're not working on anything, but you don't feel like working on anything also. But I think I've realized that it's just fine. Just stop and let it be. Let time pass for some time. Things will improve.
I mean, you're charging this much, you're getting more clients. Like, and you're also getting paid via Razorpay. Isn't there like any moonlighting kind of angle at Razorpay? Like, you cannot earn from any other place, something like that.
There's no such clause that is mentioned. In fact, even our co-founder, Shashank Kumar, knows that I'm building it.
Okay.
So even he has checked out the product and given feedback.
Don't you use it for Razorpay sometime? Like, have you tried to push like कि कुछ मैंने product बनाया and I have to do a demo? I'll do it through Slanted.
Yes. So Razorpay had this event called FTX a couple of months back. Yeah, this year only. And our team had built a product feature. So and we had an opportunity to present it on the stage. So we had to do a video, and then
Enterprise deal.
Yes, Slanted came to the talks. I did make the video as well.
Okay.
So we had a nice video to go with it. But the thing is, because there were so many product launches, our launch had to be shortened a bit. So, and that wasn't enough for showing a video and everything.
Makes sense. But still, like, there's once you're in that level, then it's easier to rekindle that fire. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
What's your stance on money then? Like, do you want to earn like a lot of it, or are you just doing it that you have a comfortable life kind of thing? Like, I mean, people generally, a lot of people like see The reason why I'm asking this is a lot of people see building side products as a good stream of side income.
like passive income or something like that.
Like a passive income कि मैंने एक बार बना दिया है, now this is gonna earn me benefits for a longer term while I'm working at a job. Like, do you see it like that, or is it, what's your stance on money in general?
Yeah, I think it's both ways. If you're building a product, if you're selling it in a passive way, there's no denying there is passive income aspect to it as well. And for some reason, I feel it's very rewarding, you know, seeing something that you built, you sold it to someone. When you're working at a company, like even at Razorpay, my job is to just write code and ship out products. There's someone else who's selling stuff that we offer.
Yeah, true.
So there's a lot of learning that happens outside tech.
Yes.
And the second is, of course, passive income, which in itself is a very different experience altogether. You're getting paid to not do stuff at times.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's funny.
are-
So when you're, let's say, when you're at a movie theater watching some movie and then you realize someone just brought your product, purchased your product.
Dopamine.
Yes.
Dopamine hit
Yeah.
instant.
So-
now I can buy a pop.
$50.
Now I can buy one.
Yes. $5 popcorn works. But
Yeah.
it large. large.
Yeah.
Anything? What's next in tech? Do you want to stay here in tech? Do you want to shift to management? Do you want to leave all of this together and chill in the Bahamas?
No, I think I can manage code and systems more than people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But
Is
maybe
it because they're more predictable in general?
probably.
Or more in control
or
at
it's,
least.
or it's more easier to command them to do what you want to do. No, but I think management is a different art in its own.
Correct.
And the reason I got into tech is because I liked it. So, and that passion is still there. I hope it still continues. And I don't think I'll just go towards management just because, you know, better positions or better pay. I'll be at a place worse than where I am in a way. So I'm enjoying what I do. And yeah, that's what.
I'll just finish up with the last and the most awaited thing, which is, did you ever find a chance to break fraud?
With Slanted, with Slanted, there was an instance of actually breaking fraud. And that is something where the users started reporting
Okay.
that Slanted is down. And the reason it was down was because I forgot to renew the domain.
Oh,
Classic.
happened with Hotstar recently, right?
Which was
Google se bhi ho gaya
which
tha ek
was
baar to.
scary, which was like really scary because I wasn't at home. I was outside in a meetup.
Oh.
And then I receive a message on Twitter saying, I'm not able to access Slanted, can you check?
Eesh.
And I'm like, how are you not able to access? It's on Cloudflare, everything is running. I see Cloudflare, things are normal. And then I open Slanted, it says, you know, server not found.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, wait, did I get a domain renewal email 30 days back?
You missed the deadline by 30 days.
No,
Don't
no,
you have like...
I didn't miss the deadline by 30 days. I missed the deadline by like 2 hours.
Oh.
But the thing
बच
is,
गया.
the renewal emails, all of them were going on spam.
Oh.
Except that 30 days old email.
What
that
is
was
this
received.
email provider? This is domain provider you're working with?
Pork bun.
Pork bun पे तो यार मतलब I have like almost everything on pork bun.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't know
कहाँ
why
जाता
it
है?
was going on spam. First I thought maybe their service is not good. They remind you 30 days before and then they never forget it.
They themselves forgot about it.
Yeah. But then I saw they send the mails, all of them were in spam.
Oh shit.
And the good thing is 2 hours. Thankfully someone reminded me and I checked and I was able to pay and get it renewed and everything.
You
I was
paid on
wondering.
your phone or something?
Yeah. I didn't even have my system. It was like crazy. I was like setting up name servers through my phone and everything.
Oh my god.
Meetup में people like
Insane.
Akash, like wait. Let me
एक
pay.
second, भाई, एक second.
Yeah. But the good thing is, at least what Porkbun provides is, if your domain expires, you still
have,
have,
hold that identity.
yeah, you
Who is
still
Balaji?
hold it for like couple of days, I think. So no one else can like purchase and hold it.
Bruh.
If that would have happened, dead. So
Okay.
now like it's on auto renew everything, and I always try to keep any to do, in the code at minimum because that's where like the prod can break. And TypeScript all the way. No runtime or most of the errors are very minimal in nature. Right now I keep monitoring Sentry every week And most of the errors are because, people are using Safari and some API is not supported in Safari.
Correct.
I'm like, okay, fine, I can't just solve it everywhere.
Can't support for
That's not me. That's
Safari, Opera browser, कुछ
older Firefox,
Apple Watch, कुछ भी कर सकते हो, कहीं भी use कर रहे हो.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's all from our side. That's it. Great chatting, man. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Means a lot. I mean, I hope that
This is your first appearance, right?
Yeah. Whatever we discuss, I hope is useful to people in any.
And that's all for this episode. Thanks a lot for making it till the end. We release new episodes every Thursday at 9, so if you found this one interesting, please drop a like on this video and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the next one. Share this episode with at least 2 friends who you think should definitely listen to it. And if there's some topic you feel we should discuss or some person you think we should call on our podcast, do let us know in the comments down below. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode of Breaking Prod.